I'm Diego Sanchez, COO of HousingWire, and this is a special 20-minute talk where I've got some folks who can chat about and discuss the crazy verdict that came down yesterday in the Sitzer Burnett trial, do some analysis and some speculation about what comes next. So I'll let everyone on this conversation do a brief 15-second introduction, and then we'll just jump right in. James, why don't we start with you?
James Dwiggins, I'm the CEO of Next Home, 6'7". I love long walks on the beach. We have to have a little bit of humor in this
Ashley?
after the crazy news day. Come on, everybody laugh a little bit.
So I'm Ashley Terrell. I'm the Chief Revenue Officer at Milestones. I'm 5'9", but when I put heels on, I'm over 6 foot. And so when I saw James for the first time at Gathering of Eagles, I'm like, cool, I'm not going to be around this guy. And that's when we became friends.
Yeah, I'm Dave Lykken, and President, Transformational Officer, owner of Transformational Mortgage Solutions, and also the podcast Lykken on Lending, where I had James Dwiggins on, one of the most downloaded, listened to podcasts recently on this very topic. So I also get to have the privilege of being friends with Ashley.
Good stuff. All right. So, James, I'm going to start with you. You've been pretty out front with your thinking and thought leadership on this topic. What happened yesterday? Were you surprised? How have you been preparing for this? And what do you think comes next?
So there's a lot of questions. First of all, thank you. Secondly, no, I'm not surprised. Everybody who's been following this has seen some of the testimony. Certainly there was some stuff shown that wasn't exactly great. Just even stuff I've heard about, just from simple stuff like the way the lawyers are dressed in the courtroom. And this is like, I'm not going to say it's TV drama, but if the plaintiff's lawyers are resonating more with people from Missouri and defendants' lawyers look like they're from New York, that doesn't help a jury make decisions. Not ragging on anybody, just there's a lot of commentary that's been coming across with just like how many lawyers were involved, et cetera. Look, this is a jury. They're going to decide, they're looking at it like we're the man and, the little guy's getting harmed. And so some of this doesn't surprise me. I've had people comment like none of these people have sold a house. Well, yes, it's correct. You can't have bias on the jury. So there's a lot of things that would have shown that this would have gone this way. And it doesn't surprise me. I think more importantly, a lot of the facts that people need to understand, they need to understand that a lot of these numbers are irrelevant. And I know this is a weird statement I'm making, but it's 1.78 billion in damages. That's not actually correct. It's 5.3 because it's treble damages and antitrust claims. So the first thing everyone needs to understand is it's significantly higher. The judge can certainly lower that amount under his discretion. It's certainly an option that they can do. And certainly NAR is pushing on that. One of the big things that people have to understand is they're like, well, this is going to get appealed for, years and years. I completely wholeheartedly disagree with that. It is never going to happen. NAR is saying they will. I get that. They have to posture. But the reality is they've got to post a bond for the amount, which they say they can do. It's a lot of money. We'll see what they come up with. But more importantly, and this is the most important part, and then I'll stop for my colleagues to jump in. The most important thing that happened yesterday is not the verdict. It's the fact that the plaintiff's lawyers filed a second claim 30 minutes later and named all the other major brokerages in the U.S., which is what I said would happen. Copycat lawsuits are going to ensue, which they're now beginning, and they're going to name everybody else. So why I am very boldly saying this will settle is because when these lawyers start suing everybody else, believe me, NAR's phones are ringing off the hook saying, settle this stuff because we can't deal with litigation in a down real estate market for the next 3 years. And, I'm in the brokerage space. I can tell you these conversations are already happening. And it makes sense because NAR has the ability to do a nationwide settlement, come up with a way to do a dues assessment, to basically get this stuff behind us. So it's Remax and Anywhere did it. The plaintiff's lawyers, this is so important what I'm going to explain right now. The plaintiff's lawyers on all three cases have been in a room to negotiate a settlement between Remax and Anywhere. So all of the lawyers are in one spot having a conversation about settling these cases out. They're looking for money. Obviously, lawyers don't want to bankrupt companies. They want to get paid. They're looking for their plaintiffs to receive some capital. Everything here is going to point to a settlement, and I'm going on record that this is within weeks, not months.
So interesting. Ashley, I feel like Anywhere and Remax are looking pretty smart right now. What do you think is going to happen, as we see more settlements, per what James just said? What do you think is going to happen to the commission structure between sellers agents and buyers agents? How do you think that's going to change in the coming months?
I think I actually just ran a poll on this on LinkedIn, and it's kind of interesting to see the results, especially with who's voting and what areas. But I think a lot of this has to do with communication in the process and of getting the agreement signed, and like having an understanding as a seller, are you paying for the buyer's agent's commissions? I think that, and I know James has been pretty vocal about this, but it does change the structure as far as maybe us having to track what buyer's agents are actually doing through the process and almost quantifying it as if they were like an attorney. I think that is something, and obviously the market's shift too is going to have an impact on this. I think when sellers are desperate to sell their homes, maybe they're not going to care so much about paying the buyer's agent's commissions, where when they have leverage, then perhaps that's not going to be the case. So, I'll be honest, I still don't 100% know how it's going to play out, but I think that there could be some impacts there. And I've been specifically speaking to quite a bit about mortgage companies and how this could impact referral business. And I think that what I've been saying is that just understand what's going on, and being able to educate the agent partners. You'd be shocked how many realtors out there don't understand that this is actually happening and that this could potentially have an impact. And so I don't think it's going to be drastic as much as it is people need to be educated and need to be able to communicate properly. And I think lenders have a really good opportunity, especially like James's podcast is amazing. For those of you that haven't been listening to it, I definitely recommend subscribing to that. And James, I'm not trying to promote you here, but I mean it, because it does give a very clear and concise understanding of what is happening here. And for a lender to be able to speak that back to the agents, I think is going to be very beneficial for them too, as they're continuing to build those relationships and navigate through these times.
Dave, let's pull you in here for a moment. A lot of the referrals for LOs come from that buyer's agent, right? So there's going to be a big impact on those referrals. What do you think lending executives should be thinking about right now? Beyond just education, what's going through their mind, and what should they be thinking about?
Well, I think that the thing that's most surprising is the number of lending executives that are not tuned into what's going on. I'm going to echo what Ashley said. Ashley introduced me to James here recently, and we released a podcast of a long interview with James. We released it on Monday of this week. So I encourage you to go to Lykken on Lending and download and listen to that.
More information, the better.
So I'm not trying to take anything away from all that you guys are reporting on there, Diego, but it was really, this is one of those times where we have to have more information. I've talked to, I don't know if it's hundreds, but I've talked to multiple tens of people, leaders in the industry, and no one has their finger on the pulse of what's going on better than James. James said something in that interview which I think is so true. Number one, we are going to have to clean up our industry. It's been a long time coming. There are too many realtors. The fact that they don't know what they're doing out there, that they don't know what's going on, just is a testimony to how unplugged they are and how unprofessional they are. So I think, and I'm sorry if that's going to offend anybody that listens to this, I respect every professional that's out there that takes this industry seriously. Maybe they should download and listen to James's podcast every week. Every time he publishes it, it should be out there to listen to, because what he and Keith talk about on that podcast is so relevant.
Well, you can charge for that?
It's a real service. He gives it away for free. Sorry for the shameless plug to you there, but it's
just kidding.
No,
yeah.
No, that's a freemium. That's a freemium offer right there. But the point of it is that what this is going to do, Diego, is going to clean up the real estate industry, and it's really going to clean out those that are not professional. They're going to have to sell their services, justify their services, and something that you guys may want to cover, that James was launching a new business, another business. He's an entrepreneur, serial entrepreneur. He's launching a new business that's really going to help realtors do that, give it a justification of what they're doing. We need to become better, and that's not just the realtors, by the way. We need to do that as loan originators out there. The loan originators that are out there, we have too many of them. We're seeing that only 50% of the MLO licenses are being renewed. Well, I hate to see those people go away. I hate to see any reduction, but I'm all for getting out the riffraff out of both the real estate and the mortgage industry. Let's get down to the serious players. That's what this is going to do. It's painful. It's unfortunate it got here, But, isn't the way the free markets work? And a plaintiff bar, a group of attorneys saw a weak spot, saw a soft spot, and they went for it. And we can grouse about it, or we can look at the opportunities in it. And I think one of the first opportunities that James pointed out in that interview was, this is going to clean up the industry, and they're going to have to start selling and justifying their services. That is a good thing.
I really want to dig in on the buyer's agent in particular. Yeah. There's some speculation out there that we could see half or more of buyer's agents disappear, and maybe that's a good thing, right? So tell me what your thoughts are about what could happen next with the buyer's agent. What are the compensation models that we could be looking at? But yeah, follow up on David's point there.
I've spent a lot of time studying this. So I'm going to go in with some stats to just sort of back some of this stuff up. All right. First of all, if you go back to 1960, dual income households were 30% in American culture. This isn't about changing culture, by the way. I just want to give some stats for everybody to understand. Today, it's between 60 to 70% of Americans have a dual income household. So my wife has a career, I have a career, and we have a 2.5-year-old. I don't wake up and go, hey, babe, we need to sell our house. Let's go do all that on our own. Because that's a great idea. We have so much time to do that. Americans are absolutely a society that wants service and efficiency. We're willing to pay more to have our food delivered than the cost of the food itself because we're that lazy as a society. No offense. So like this concept of we're going to go unrepresented is just wrong. Every study I've read shows that people want someone to represent on a transaction. The number one way that people find a realtor is through referral. They ask a friend and say, who did you use? So I want to establish first that there's not going to be this massive washout. I estimate on the high side, 40%. The reason I say that is it's a combination of just market conditions, because in 2008, we had 1.4 million realtors. In 2010, we had 1 million. The market conditions changed. We washed out. That's just cyclical of this business. You're going to see that occur at least 20% just based upon market. The lawsuits are significant, but they're not at the same time. Let me explain. So if the process was the seller's agent grabbed the other half of the compensation and paid it out, the conversation now is Mr. and Mrs. Seller. This is post lawsuit and some of these changes that are coming. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, it's been done this way for 40 years because guess what? Your house appreciated 3,000% in the past 20 years because we don't have enough housing in this country. You've benefited from that. So the buyer is going to be strapped to be able to afford this house. They are going to put everything into it. They're going to mortgage the hell out of themselves in order to do it. No offense, David, but that's where we're at. And the reality is they don't have the money to pay it. So here's what's going to happen, Mr. and Mrs. Seller. You're going to see a purchase contract come across, and in that's a stipulation that you're to pay the buyer's agent's compensation. That's one way you'll see it. The second thing is you may see it where you're to issue a credit back to the buyer so that the buyer can pay the agent's compensation. And the third thing, which is going to happen, this is me urging NAR, I also think it's happening anyway, is conversations with Fannie and Freddie so that we can find a way to finance that compensation into a loan. It is absolutely irresponsible of the federal government or anyone in this country to think that having buyers unrepresented in a transaction that they only do 2 to 3 times in their life is a smart idea. So there needs to be these mechanisms. And I firmly believe that sellers are going to figure out a way to get a deal done because they don't want to lose selling their house over negotiation of a contract. Every realtor needs to go get some negotiation books and learn how to negotiate. That's going to be part of this process. There'll be 3 mechanisms. Write it in the purchase contract. Seller pays the buyer's agent directly. A buyer credit if your state won't allow it, and then finance it in the loan. One last comment. This concept of hourly won't work. And nobody's read this stuff, but I'm apparently an idiot. So our IRS carve out in that statute, you cannot charge hourly for services if you want to remain an independent contractor. It is illegal. So I don't mean this disrespectfully, but Redfin hasn't proven that W-2 model works, and they're actually moving further away from that in the news the past week and a half. So I don't see every brokerage in America employing all their realtors. Highly unlikely. So that model is not probably likely. The second one would be, okay, a flat rate service. It's just you pay a flat fee for service. Name one company that's succeeded in that. Foxtons came over from the UK, filed bankruptcy. Purple Bricks came over from the UK, filed bankruptcy. Rex came over and started this whole thing and caused most of this drama, filed bankruptcy. That model hasn't worked in society. I'm not saying it won't, but it hasn't yet. The third thing is a menu of services. I think there's room for that. I think there's room in that market so that there's, gold level, platinum level, silver level, whatever it is, and you get these things included. I would only caution that that's not a new business model either. Assist to Sell and Help You Sell have been around for 40 years. Those models have shrunk in time. Most Americans want to pay a premium to have a complete service and have it taken off their back. So I am in the camp, and I think everyone needs to hear this. We got to level up on articulating our value. We got to do a damn better job of explaining what we do. But every study I've read, including the one from 1000 Watt Consulting recently, and Brian Boer and his group did an amazing job, specifically show that sellers and buyers have said we'd have no problem paying the agent for their services. They literally just said that in a new study. So our industry just needs to slightly move. Brokers and agents must get a buyer presentation online right now. Treat your buyer the same way you treat a seller. Sit down, do a consult, articulate value, explain what you do. NAR did the 179 things a buyer's agent does on an average deal. Go download that, go read it, memorize it, get your elevator pitch done. They need to get buyer broker representation agreements. This is a big thing the industry has to adopt. So 12 states right now require it. You cannot work with a buyer without a representation agreement. 38 states should enact that immediately. I know a lot of associations are working towards that. There is a change coming, but it is not this I see all of this stupid stuff online like, oh my God, buyer's agent representation's gone. There's no more buyer's agents. It's going to be like Australia. No, it's not. We can adapt. There's going to be some shift. Those that do it well will. I'll leave you with this last comment. Imagine a world, which I love, by the way, where instead of the buyer's agent's compensation being dictated by the seller's agent in advance, the buyer's agent sits down and tells the buyer what they're willing to do the work for. And I believe you'll see really good agents charge more for their services, not what was stipulated by the seller's agent. And no one's talking about how this frees up really interesting ways to approach the business and make our industry more professional. I'm off my soapbox. Sorry.
I think that's really profound thinking. Oh, go ahead, Ashley.
No, I was going to say that really ties into to what David was saying as far as cleaning up the industry, right? I think that there's a lot of people that when the market is in a certain position, they're going off and getting licensed because it's easy money and you can transact for your friends and family. But when it comes down to it, there does need to be a little bit of a cleanup, but the good agents out there are providing an immense amount of value. James, you're going to laugh at me. If I want to go buy a horse property because I want to have, so James and I have this joke, but he doesn't know this yet, but him and his wife and I are going to go into business with horses, but yes. So this is, and he made the mistake of introducing us via email. So this is going to be great. But if I want to go buy a horse property and I want to be able to build out something on there and I need to understand the zoning and I need to understand about it, can I get this? Can this be an agricultural property? Where's the water going to come from? All of those things are literally things I'm actively doing right now. I hope my husband doesn't see this because he doesn't know that. And two, I do need somebody that understands, and that buyer's agent is going to give me more value than I think any listing agent is going to be in that particular use case. And I think specifically for lenders too, again, where you can provide value to help these buyer's agents continue to give that value back. This is the biggest purchase they're ever going to do in their life. And this is going to be this is their biggest asset in most cases. And it's all of their money and it's emotional. And so I think that if anything, there's a lot of opportunity that's coming out of this.
Go ahead, David.
Yeah, I want to say what we have to have is readjust our mindset, readjust our skill set and our activities. Those are the three things we're talking about in our consulting firm with our clients right now. This is a great opportunity to just do a reset. And it's a fortune. You can all look at it as glass half full, glass half empty. Dwiggins is helping us see the opportunities.
Yeah, imagine a world, Diego, where this is interesting. Imagine a world, and this is not just because Ashley and David know some stuff I'm working on, but the reality is imagine a world where you have a presentation and the agent sits down and says, here are the 675 things that me and my partners are going to do over the next 90 days. The 175 things the agent does, the 175 things the lender does, the 50 things the home inspector does. My point is, this is a growing opportunity. And I don't think there's a person on planet Earth who's going to sit down and go, oh my God, I had no idea that there were 630 things I got to do in this transaction. You know what? I'm going to go do it on my own. Like nobody does that.
Yeah.
So like
it feels like a huge opportunity to professionalize and to increase the quality of the advice.
Exactly right. That's the point. No other takeaway other than that should be from this.
So I think we'll wrap with Ashley. Ashley, regardless of what happens, the seller's agent became a little bit more important yesterday. How do people get more listings business? How do they stay close to their sphere? Like what are tactics people should take to be a better listing agent or to get those listings for the first time?
I think it's this whole concept of actually retaining your customers. If you sell them a home and then you can transact with them again. I mean, it's quite simple, but I mean, how much money do people spend on leads every single year? And at what point, like on the mortgage side, you're rebuying your same leads probably every 4 to 5 years. And then on the real estate side, James, every 7 to 8 years, you're probably rebuying your same leads again. I mean, like when it comes to educating people on the market, the asset of the home, I think we are in a little bit of a non-transactional time right now where people are probably going to stay in their homes. So I think there's an opportunity for people to stay engaged with their customers and help them make their home more livable. I mean, yes, we might not be transacting or you might not get a purchase or a sale, but there's other transactions that could be happening in that time also. And so, again, I've actually had conversations with people where they've actually rebought their same customer back multiple times and spent, I don't know how much money doing it. Like, just stay in touch. Like, this is a relationship-based industry. We're all friends. I'm friends with David. I'm friends with James. Friends with you, Diego. Like, this is a relationship-based industry. And so I think that carries on to when people are doing that big transaction of the home. They want to transact with a human being that they like and that they trust and is going to actually help them.
Yeah, I don't know what the stat is on the real estate side, but on the mortgage side, I think retention is like 17% or something. If you do a mortgage with somebody, doing that next mortgage, this feels like an opportunity to improve that.
It's about 87-23 on the real estate side, by the way. 87% said they use the same agent again. 23% actually do, which is Ashley's point. Like if we were to just stay in touch in a meaningful way, by the way, Ashley's shirt, in a meaningful way, then like you wouldn't have to be paying 35% referral fees long term. So many conversations around that.
And I know James has done a lot of research on those referral fees and what people are. I mean, it's like most people like their agent, but how many agents are out there? I know we said it earlier, 1.something million. There's a lot. And so ultimately it's about which one of your neighbors that's a licensed agent happens to be walking their dog, and then their dog sniffs your dog. And then all of a sudden the previous agent lost their business because you're now going to transact with the one with the dog. Oh, James, can I get one of your dogs? Yeah. One of your little orange dogs for next home? I've always wanted one of those. Okay, thanks.
David, let's wrap it up with you. What are your final thoughts?
Well, I think you look for the opportunity in this. That's what we all need to do. And this is a tough market for everybody. This is going to feel like a gut punch a big gut punch to a lot of people. And I think they just set their mindset differently. And this is a huge opportunity for us to all get professional and get that much more professional, proficient at what we're doing. And you know what? I think this, as painful as this 1.78 billion is, as a number, actually 5 billion. With the damages, this is an opportunity for us to level up, get set up for the next cycle. We're going to get through this, and we have got when we get on the other side of this, and interest rates, we get dealing with housing inventory, and we get these rates back down. Interviewed Doug Duncan yesterday at Fannie Mae and Adam Quinn. It's fascinating in discussion. We just released that podcast yesterday. It is really interesting about where we're going. Stay tuned. There's a bright future on the other side of this market for those that are serious professionals.
Amen.
Great parting words. James, Ashley, David, thank you so much for joining today. It was great catching up with you and chatting on this topic.
Thank you for having us on, Diego. Appreciate you, man. Appreciate all you're doing at HousingWire. Keep it up.
Yep.
Thanks.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much for watching this episode of 10 Minute Talks. If you want to stay up to date on all things housing, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and drop a like and a comment below if you enjoyed this video.